We're live, I think, aren't we?
Yes.
Yay numbers.
Yay numbers, so we're doing the right thing. Okay, so what do we got? 1,
Hello?
30, 18, right? So all we're going to be doing today is just graphing parabolas. And if you take a look, example 1, that's in standard form. And I'm going to flip it real quick and come back to it. Okay? You can, yeah. Did you not get one of these? Okay, and if I real quickly, and I'm going to flip it back. If I real quickly flip it back, take a look, flip it over. It's the other form, isn't it? This one's vertex form, okay? Do you see the difference? Vertex form, because of the parentheses, quantity squared. And flip it back over, standard form, right? So if it's standard form, got my little cheat sheet, right? I'm going to go to standard form. I'm going to use these notes, right? So it's really quite easy. So the first thing we're going to do is this. Let's find the line of symmetry, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is find the line of symmetry. So we're going to use x equals negative b over 2a, right? I know that a is 2, b is negative 5, and c is negative 3. So I'm going to go a negative 5 over a 2 times a 2, which is 5 over 4. 1.25, you guys okay with 1.25? It's a decimal number, but that's okay. I can deal with it. I can. So at 1.25, I'll estimate where that line of symmetry goes. Goes right along, something like that, okay? So there's my line of symmetry, right at x equals 1.25, right? Now I know the vertex has to lie along this line, right? I just don't know where. To find out exactly where it is, to find its y value, plug this in. So let's plug it in. I'm going to go, all right, I'm going to go y equals 2 times a 1.25 squared minus a 5 times a 1.25 minus 3. And honestly, for me, I just use a calculator. I really don't try and do this in my head. I'm smart enough to know that I'm going to make a mistake. How's that for being smart, huh? So I'm going to use my calculator. 2 parentheses 1.25 squared minus 5 times 1.25, subtract 3, and I get an answer of negative 6.125, okay? So my vertex is going to be at the point 1.25, negative 6.125. Okay, so I'll have to estimate that, right? I'll go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.25. I'm just going to estimate, okay? I'm going to say it's right about there, okay? Okay, now, the y-intercept, that's the easiest. If I let x equal 0, right, then I'm going to really get negative 3. You guys agree? I'm going to plug 0 in here. I'm going to go, okay, y equals, 2 times 0. So I don't really need to do this. I really don't, because I know, 0 is just 0, right? So I really get negative 3, so the corresponding y-intercept is going to be 0, negative 3. Right? I mean, just plug 0 in for x. 0, 0, negative 3, right? So I'll have an answer, y-intercept 1, 2, 3 right there, okay? Now I can kind of put the other one on the other side of that, maybe right about here, about there, right? Because I've got a line of symmetry, correct? Now the x-intercepts. Okay, to do the x-intercepts, my notes say that I'm going to set it equal to 0 and factor. Alright, I think this will factor. I think so. So I'm going to go parentheses, right? 2x, x. I'm going to go 1 and 3. I need to make the 5 with the double smiley, remember? And so I'm going to go negative and positive. And if I do my double smiley, I'll have a negative 6x, positive 1x, which will make the negative 5, right? So I've got it factored, but I actually need the answers. So I've got my mini equations. So I'll take my first mini equation. I'll go 0 equals 2x plus 1 because I need one of my x-intercepts. And I'll take my 0 equals x minus 3 to get my other x-intercept. So to solve, I'll go minus 1, right? Subtract 1, right? Divide by 2, and one of my x-intercepts is at 1, negative 1/2, okay? That is a point. We don't normally write it as, but it really is a point, so it's a coordinate at negative 1/2, 0. And then the other one, plus 3, right? We have a other x-intercept at 3. And again, that is a point because it's an intercept, so the coordinate would be 3, 0. All right, so if I go to negative 1/2, 0, I'll estimate where that is. And 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, I'll put that right there, which means this point's off by a little bit, isn't it? A little bit. Okay, and then I'm just going to graph it. Just draw it in. It's supposed to curve. It doesn't look very curvy. I could have made it a little bit more curvy. There we go, a little more curvy at the bottom. Okay, there it is. So, if you have this on Thursday, it should help, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you guys ready to turn the page? Am I going too fast? Thumbs up? Anybody? If you need me to slow down, please tell me, okay? Okay, turn the page. Alright, now, example 2 is in the other form, isn't it? You see the parentheses quantity squared? So this one's in my vertex form, right? This is actually easier. This one is actually easier to do because the vertex, so first of all, the line of symmetry is the opposite. It's got to be the opposite. So it's just going to be x equals negative 1, okay? It's going to be just the opposite. So I'm going to go to negative 1. I'll put in my line of symmetry. And again, the line of symmetry is not part of the graph. It's technically an invisible line, right? It's an invisible line, but I like to put it in there just because it helps me graph, okay? So the vertex then is going to be, since it's in vertex form, just the negative 1, 5. I like vertex form. I like it when it's this form because it's pretty easy, right? So I go to negative 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Claire, I'm going to graph it. I'm going to show all the math, but you're right. We could go 1, 1 but double, 2, 4 and double. We could get it that way, okay?
It like 1 off the...
Am I off?
Yeah.
Oh, I sure am. It goes right there. Thanks, Claire. Thank you. Of course, it has to be on the... I get talking, and then I make mistakes. There, how's that? Better? A little bit. Mostly gone. All right, now, the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept, you really do need to let x equal 0, okay? So if x equals 0, I'm going to have a y equals a negative 2 times a 0 plus 1 squared plus 5, right? That's going to be a negative 2 times 1 squared plus 5. Right? Negative 1 squared is 1. Again, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2 plus 5 is 3, right? So my y-intercept is at 0, 3. There's my y-intercept. So I'm going to 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's right there. Let x equal 0. I simplified and got 3. Now I know I have another point over here because it is symmetrical, right? X-intercepts. Okay, to get the x-intercepts, we let y equal 0. Okay. So I'm going to take my parabola and we'll go, okay, 0 equals negative 2 x plus 1 squared plus 5. Okay. Now if I need good answers, I'm actually going to have to solve this. Sorry. So to solve this, minus 5, right? Minus 5, minus 5. So I'll have negative 5 equals negative 2 times x plus 1 quantity squared. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, right? Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. I'll have a 2.5 equals an x plus 1 squared. Square root, right? Square root. How many answers? Has to be because there's two x-intercepts, right? So I get a plus or minus. Now this time I need to use a calculator answer because I need to find the point, right? So this is the time where we're going to actually use a calculator to get a decimal answer because we need to find the point. So I'm going to use my calculator. Say, okay, what is the square root of 2.5? About 1.58. But since we're graphing, let's round to 1.6, okay? Because that's the closest we're going to be able to graph. So 1.6. So I have a plus or minus 1.6 equals x plus 1, okay? Now, to get two answers, we're going to have minus 1, right? We're going to have a negative 1 plus or minus 1.6, right? Now, that's not really two answers yet. So I went minus 1, So I have a negative 1 plus or minus 1.6. So to get my two answers, it's the easy as this. Two answers. All right. Let's have a negative 1 plus a 1.6. Let's have a negative 1 minus 1.6, and those are going to be my two answers. Okay, see the plus or minus to get my two answers? So one answer is going to be a 0.6. The other answer is going to be a negative 2.6. All right, I just added them. And those are points, so they'd be coordinates. So one coordinate would be 0.60, and the other is a negative 2.60. And there's my x-intercepts. Okay, let's plot those points. So let's plot what I have. I'm going to have, and I'll slide back up, 0.6 is about there. Negative 1, 2.6 is about there. And here's what I have for my parabola. Okay. Now, homework. It's not out of the book. I gave you 4 graphs. We have 4 graphs to graph. Stop recording it. So if you're absent, there's the 4 graphs. The homework, and we are